Hello and welcome to Mountain Patriot Homestead. Here in front of me, I have the three most used remedies that we use around our place just because of the variety of issues that these will take care of. Now, I know it's kind of an unusual time of the year, late fall, or I say late fall, of discussing this because a lot of times we discuss it or collect these leaves and plants in the springtime throughout the summer because that's when they're most plentiful. But I thought I would speak to you about them today so when you go into next year, you'll start looking for these if they grow in your area. If they do not, research what does grow in your area. There are very few places on earth where there are no plants and therefore it's hard to provide for your own medicinal purposes if there's nothing growing there. But that is not the case here where we live in the Ozarks. We are so blessed that pretty much all of our vegetation provides some sort of medicinal or edible resource. So these are our three things that we use here on the homestead. Now I went out and picked a couple of leaves this morning. They look rather sad because it is later in the season, and though we're supposed to be in the 80s today, by the middle part of next week, it's supposed to be lows in the 30s. So our weather is just all over the place this time of year. So the plants, we're also in a drought. So the plants are not that plentiful. However, there are still some out there. If I still wanted to go out and harvest, I still could on a more limited basis. But let me talk a little bit about these three items that I have in front of me. This is a jar of comfrey oil. I don't know if you can see on here, but it's down to about right here on this, and because it is oil, it will go a long way. Now, when I made these two, this is comfrey oil, this is plantain oil. When I made these, I used grapeseed oil because that's what I had. That's what was on sale at the Benton Dent, so this is what I used for it. Now, this here you can tell is not an oil. This is mullein, and this mullein leaf we use for tea. So this is for topical purposes, just on top of your skin, and this is for teas that we drink. So let me talk about each one of these and just tell you what we use each one of these for. So the comfrey. Now, comfrey is one of those plants that you can use the leaf, you can use the root, and because I'm letting my plants get established, they're only a couple of years old, but they're already getting huge. But I don't want to disturb the roots just yet, but when I am able to start harvesting the roots, then that will open up a whole new avenue of more medical purposes that I can use it for. This is a very small comfrey leaf because my comfrey in the height of summer had massive leaves. They were beautiful, just beautiful green plants, and have these flowers, the purple flowers on them that the bees, my little pollinators, the bumblebees, just absolutely love. So I like having them around as well because it attracts my pollinators for the rest of my garden plants. But the comfrey oil, how do I make the oil? I'm just going to get a brief synopsis of how I do the oils. Maybe we'll make another one in the future of how I make each one of these, but it's so simple. You take the leaves, you dry them, and once they're dried thoroughly, I put them in a jar. I pour my oil over the top of it. Like I said, I used grapeseed, But you can use almond oil, you can use, even if you have olive oil, a light olive oil, you can pour that over it. And some people use a hot method where they heat it and then they strain it to get it faster. But what I do is I'll put the dried matter into a jar, whether it's comfrey, plantain, chickweed, whatever I'm making my oil out of. I put the dried matter in there, I pour the oil over, making sure it covers all the way to the top, and then I seal it up. I let it sit 6 to 8 weeks. If you forget it and it sits for 5 months, it's not gonna hurt it, okay? Then you just strain it. Make sure you strain your dried matter out of it, and then jar it up, and you're ready to use it. And it will last for quite some time. Now, we go through a lot of oil around here because it does have so many uses. Now, the comfrey, it is good for skin health, for helping with moisture, because of course oil, but the comfrey itself helps soothe dry skin. It helps with skin cell growth, which is also really good if you have wounds. If you have well, as a matter of fact, I can't show you very well, but I had a scrape on the palm of my hand that when I was working outside the other day, didn't take my gloves, got a scrape on the palm of my hand, started using the comfrey oil, and it healed right up. And it helps with cuts and scratches and scrapes. However, if you have a puncture wound, it heals so quickly, you should not use it on that because it will heal over the top, and the wound underneath will not be able to keep up with it. That's how fast this stuff heals. It also helps with bone healing. It helps with if you have a broken bone, and you have a fracture, it will actually, which of course it would be hard to do if you had a cast on, but if you're like I have been in the past where I have maybe a partial break, you can put that on there, and I have not used it for that because I was not aware of that at the time, but you can use it to speed the rate of healing for a bone fracture. Now, my husband asked me the other day, how does it do that? I don't know. All I know is this is what it does, this is how it works, but I can't tell you how it works. I don't know. Back discomfort. Now, here's one I can give you firsthand, and if my husband was here, he's out hauling cows today, but if he was here, he would be able to tell you. This is a testimony. Let me back up. He had back surgery a few years ago. For the last couple of years, well, right after the back surgery, he developed this this stinging, burning pain that it sounds like sciatica to me, but it doesn't necessarily have the same characteristics. Not all of them. It's so much so that his neurosurgeon is confused about what it is. And my husband does not like taking any medications. Me or him, either one, we do not like taking medications. Of course, he takes heart medication and that sort of thing for blood pressure and all because he has to. However, he does not like taking any pain meds. And so for the last few years, he has really suffered through it, and over the last several months, it has gotten worse in the form of not being able to sleep more than a couple hours a night. Now, if you've ever went without sleep for very long, you know how miserable that can be. He's a trooper, he plugs through it, but you shouldn't have to live that way. And when doctors are going, we don't know, let's try another test, and you've been doing tests forever, after a while it's just like, okay, I'm ready to try anything. So I pull out the comfrey oil and I said, let me rub this on the area where it hurts. And you tell me where it hurts. And so I've been putting this on, I'll put it on of a morning and then a couple of times in the evening. I'll rub it on the area that's causing him pain. And it combined with some sleep time tea that I've been making him in the evenings, he's actually been able to sleep 4 or 5 hours before waking up. And then even after that, he's able to go back to sleep. That was not happening before. So I can say this does help with back pain. I can't it helps with his back pain. I'm not going to promise it'll help with your back pain. Now, another thing that I can say that it helps with is I have osteoarthritis, I've got psoriatic arthritis, and so I'll have random joint pains. I'll get up one morning and it'll be my elbow, and I'll get up another morning and it'll be my knee. It's just, random stuff. I don't like taking pain meds, and at the very most, I might take acetaminophen, but that's it. However, I can rub this on it, and in a very short period, it'll quit hurting. I can't promise that for everybody. All I can say is what works for us, and that's what I'm just trying to share here. But it is an anti-inflammatory, so if you have inflammation, you can try rubbing that on the inflamed area to try to see if it works. I mean, it's not going to hurt you. Now, one thing about comfrey is there's a lot of argument of whether you can take it internally or not. Because of that question there of whether you can take it internally, I don't suggest using comfrey for internal uses. However, external, yes, I have no problem. If my hands bother me, rubbing it on my hand, because I think this is safer for me than pain meds are. So just letting you know. It does have analgesic properties. And another thing that it's supposed to be good for, I haven't tried it, is it's supposed to be good on your hair. But, probably is. I just haven't tried it. So that is comfrey. Plantain oil. Now this is narrow leaf plantain. I did not find any wide leaf plantain. I'm sure there's some out there somewhere. It's just where I went walking this morning, I didn't see any. But wide leaf or narrow leaf plantain, either one is going to work the same. And I love plantain. And I am so glad that it grows just abundantly around here in the warm time of the year when the yellow jackets are out. I don't know if where you're at, you have had a lot of yellow jackets the last couple of years. Last year was absolutely horrible for yellow jackets. And I know that was one of the things that I was hearing reported in North Carolina when which they're still out there, but the first responders out there helping people and assisting were asking for Benadryl and anything that could help with yellow jacket stings, because I guess the yellow jackets were displaced, and so they were mad, which I understand. I get that. I'd be mad too. But the first responders and the people that were displaced by the floods and storms, they were just suffering terribly because of the yellow jackets. Well, the plantain is something I love having around here because I don't even have to come in the house and get the oil. Last year, I was just walking across the yard and a stupid yellow jacket popped me right under the eye. Well, it just so happened right beside my foot was some plantain. I picked a leaf, chewed it up, and stuck the green blob on that sting. Normally, I am allergic to anything that stings like that, and I swell up, but I plopped that on there, and I guess it drew the poison out, and it did not swell. The pain went away within 20 or 30 minutes. There was not even any pain, and there was just a little red, almost looked like a little red freckle of where it had stung me, but even that was gone in a day or two. So I believe in plantain when it comes to bites and stings. Now, one of the things my husband uses, and me, but definitely my husband because he's out in these fields all the time, are chigger and tick bites, because the things around here are, yeah, they're terrible. And so when we have a bite, mosquitoes will make big whelps on me. But even when I get a mosquito bite now, if I put a little plantain oil on it immediately, just rub it on there, the itch is gone, and I have no big, huge mosquito bite or anything. It takes it out and it heals it that fast. But it is also, plantain again is one of those plants like the comfrey. It is good for your skin health. It is good for wound healing. It can help minor wounds. It can help inflamed skin. It's an anti-inflammatory. It can help with sunburn. Now, I know there's going to be people that say, you don't put oil on a burn. Well, when I was a kid growing up, my mama put butter on a burn. So, can I say that it is or ain't? I know medically speaking, you should not put oil or butter or that sort of thing on a burn. I understand that. On a sunburn, what I prefer using is a towel or rag that's dipped in vinegar and lay it on there, and it draws the heat. But the plantain oil will help with rashes. It'll help with sunburns. It'll help with windburn. It is antimicrobial, and it is an antioxidant. It is helps with allergic reactions. Now, again, what we use it the most for is itching because we just have a lot of bugs. Now, I'll tell you, here's another testimony of how I use it, me personally, is I don't know if it's some sort of neuropathy or what's going on, but sometimes at night, the backs of my hands and the tops of my feet will itch. No idea why. I'm not diabetic. My numbers for everything are fine. I don't have to. I'm 50. I just turned 59 years old, and praise Jesus, I don't have to take any prescription medications for anything. I take natural supplements for things, but I don't have to take any prescription medications for stuff. So thank you, Jesus. But I do sometimes, I'll get that itching, and I'll just get up and I'll put that on my hands or my feet, just whichever one's itching, and go back. By the time I go back to bed, it's quit and I can go back to sleep. So that's another thing that I use this for. It's wonderful for itching. So these are the two oils that we use the most. I have shelves of oils and tinctures back there, but these are the two oils that I use the most. And this last one here it's a fairly large jar. It's a half-gallon jar, but you see that it's down quite a bit. I'm hoping this will last me through the winter. I hope that we stay healthy and this does last through the winter, because I went out this morning and I did not find any more mullein anywhere. But we use mullein tea a lot around here for respiratory issues. My husband just the other day, woke up with one of those kind of rattly coughs starting. It's because it's allergy season. And he asked for this tea. So I know when he's asked for my tea that he knows something's coming on, and if we don't catch it pretty quickly, it'll develop into something else, and he'll have to go get a Z-Pack or something from the doctor. So, because he does have lung issues from an incident years past. But the mullein tea, that is what we use. I mean, it's so easy to make mullein tea. You just put a pinch of the tea into, whether you've got an infuser or you've got little tea bags or whatever, you use this mullein in a cup of hot water, let it steep 10-15 minutes, and if you want to put a little dab of honey in it, or as I sometimes will do with this, is I'll put a little elderberry tincture in with it. Sometimes I will put chamomile in with it. You know, sometimes you can use different mixtures for different levels. If he's let it go too long, then putting the elderberry in there, and then the chamomile helps him sleep. So now that brings up another thing real quick. Anytime you're using herbal remedies, if you're just starting and you're just learning how, or you're trying a new one, my recommendation is don't mix them into a concoction and put on your skin or ingest it. Use one type of thing at a time. For example, I know both of these are good for my skin. If I've never used these before, instead of combining them and putting them both on my skin at the same time, I would use one or the other. Because if I haven't used them before, if I break out in a rash and these are combined, I don't know which one caused the rash. Where if I use comfrey and I was fine, then I use plantain and I break out in a rash, I know it was the plantain that caused it. Okay, so that's just a tip on try to not introduce a new remedy in as a combination with another one until you know that you're not going to have a reaction, because people are allergic to peanuts. If you can be allergic to peanuts, you can be allergic to other natural substances that you don't know about. So use caution. If you're I'm not a doctor, but I'm going to tell you that if you are already taking prescribed medications, be careful on introducing, especially things that you ingest, be careful in introducing that into your system. You may want to talk to your doctor to make sure that they go along with it, that they're okay with it. It's going to depend on your doctor, though, because some of them don't, this is all hoodoo to them. So, it's, I'm going to leave that on your shoulders to determine whether you think, if you're taking some type of prescribed medication for an issue, that you use your own due diligence in investigating things. But these topical substances, again, I would suggest if you're going to try one of these for the first time, only use one at a time and use it on a small area just to make sure. Most people aren't going to be allergic, but, again, you don't want to use this head to toe and all of a sudden break out in this, horrendous rash, because, I'm not even sure the plantain at that time would help. But that is all. I just hope that you find this helpful. I'm going to put a link down below of the plantain tincture that I made a couple of years ago. I know that plantain is, unless you're in an area where you have several more months of summer, the plantain is about to be gone. But start looking for it come springtime, because it comes in early, and around here it comes in plentiful, and it is one of our best friends. And I hope you found this useful. If you did, please give me a thumbs up, comment, and I hope to see you back again real soon. Mountain Patriot Homestead, signing out.